Welcome everyone to the episode number 7 of the Bunker Talk. I'm the host, Ciara Gravier, owner of the Bunker Insurance and Risk Management. My two very special guests today are from SecureMark Legal, partners Holly McFall and Melissa Jeda. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your very busy schedules and driving all the way over to me. I know that that's kind of a hike, but I really appreciate it. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No problem. So just to get started, give us a little bit of a background about you guys. How did you guys become attorneys? Why? How'd you find each other? Tell us about that.
Go for it. Oh.
You're up.
Well, I became an attorney about 15 years ago. I started out doing real estate because at that time the real estate market was really booming and that's where the jobs were, and I thought that I would like that. And I did for a while, but then I got into more of the bankruptcy side of things when the market turned around 2006, 2007. Did that in litigation with the bankruptcy and foreclosure, some small claims court for a long time until about 2 years ago. Melissa and I got into this, and we call it our happy law.
Oh, okay, that's
now
good.
We're dealing with new businesses and exciting new ventures and happy things that are happening as opposed to people getting their homes foreclosed or going into bankruptcy.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, I can see how you guys now it's a protection. It's instead of being reactionary, right? At such a bad time. How about you, Melissa?
I've been about 15 years now. I did litigation for a long time. I was an entrepreneur and did business litigation for a while in bankruptcy. And then when Holly and I partnered up, it's nice to work with creatives. It's fun to get things building and get things going. And I love doing IP law. It's just kind of passionate about it.
That's great. That's great. So tell us exactly, give us a IP law for dummies, right? Which I know is probably hard, but give us the summary of why would a business owner go to you and hire SecureMark Legal? What is it that you guys offer for protection for business owners?
Well, Trademark protects not only your brand, your name, it also protects your reputation, it protects your logo, it protects your image. It stops others from infringing on your work and stealing what you're doing and all your hard work. What we do and what we try to do is really take protecting the brand off people's plate to allow them to be able to run their business.
Okay. So if I am a new business owner, right, let's not use insurance. I want to sell, hoodies, right? I'm going to come out with a hoodie brand, right? Where do I start? If I'm thinking of a name, should I approach SecureMark Legal prior to thinking of a name, or do I bring you guys the name I'm thinking? How does that work? What's the timeline?
Well, you want to be creative in your name. A brand name can't just describe it. You can't just call yourself the hoodie shop.
Right.
You can't be descriptive of what you're doing. It has to be unique. Think like apples for computer, Dove for chocolate. Those kinds of things. You want something that is unique, something that is distinguishable, that it is your brand. So we can help you with that. We can help you not just determine the name, and walk you through what names you're coming through and what you're looking at, but we can help you determine if that name is already taken, if that name is creative enough, if that name is distinct to your brand. And then we can run a trademark search and determine if that name exists anywhere in the United States.
And we do a full comprehensive search. We have a special service that we use that's very in-depth into not only just Google,
right, which is what I would do, which is the average business owner. Right. Well, I think that what you guys do is very important because the majority of, I didn't run a search before I named the bunker, right? And so what I did was I went on Sunbiz, which is where in the state of Florida we register businesses, and I looked, okay, there's not the bunker. And prior to, I did change my name. I was the Bunker Risk Shelter. That didn't exist. So I was like, great, the name's not taken. But I did the no. I did it wrong. So it's what you're saying as far as it's not just Google and it's not just your state registry, right?
Right. It's national and even international. If you have any plans in the future of bringing your brand in international, selling in any other countries, advertising in any other countries, you want to know if there's any conflicts out there in the entire world.
Right.
And, our searches, we can determine the parameters, whether it is just the United States or certain countries or the world. And the price varies based on what geographical area you choose. But that's important up front to know, because
of course,
before you put a whole bunch of money into your brand in the U.S. and then you want to go to France one day and you're like, oh no, I have to come up with a whole
you have to
name.
come like another division, right? I can imagine that, like me, there's probably the majority of business owners do it wrong.
Yeah, and it's not just the fact that you don't want to make sure you own your name. You want to make sure you're not infringing on someone else's name, and it's not just the exact same name. There can be confusingly similar names, different spellings, but it's the same pronunciation, those kinds of things.
Oh wow, so even to that, even if the name is not written the same or spelled the same, but it sounds like another business name, they can come after you.
Correct. What if someone didn't use the E?
Right.
And they just put an apostrophe for the R. Something along those lines. You're going to want to make sure that you're not just confusingly similar, you're not looking the same, you're not phonetically sounding the same. The search goes through all of that process.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
and I know that as a person that opened a business in 2019 and didn't do any of this, it's pretty crucial to know not only the infringement part, but also then to take the measures to protect what I did come up with, right? Like if nobody does have it and it doesn't exist, well, then I need to protect myself for that. So that way it's not. So even like logos, let's say, right? So if a logo is very similar in style, in font, even if the names are different, that can be protected as well, generally?
Yes, you can protect the image that's
Got
for
it.
that logo as long as it's unique. And we run a comprehensive search and make sure the elements of that logo, we look at all the different elements. Does it have sun? Does it have stars? Does it have triangles? You're going to want is a comparison to another logo. Not only in your same class, that's how things are categorized for the same service or good, but also others. Are you going to confuse in somebody else's logo? And does that confusion cause the consumer to be confused? Because that's really what we're looking at. What will the consumer look at?
Okay. And so explain to me, I know the original question was like the basics of IP law, which I know you guys went to school for. So it's not like we could figure that out, right, in 35 minutes. But like, what is the difference in between, a copyright, a trademark? What are those? We hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. Stuff is copywritten, stuff is trademarked. But especially like when I watch Shark Tank, they always ask like, do you have a patent or do you have a trademark? And they say, yes, it's been applied for. And there's different, give us a little summary of like, what does well, explain those first and then we'll go on to the next question. Let's do that.
Okay. Well, so we've talked a bit about trademarks. Trademarks are your name, your logo, the things that identify your business and show to the world the source of a product or a service.
Okay.
So that they know where it's coming from, who is giving or selling the product or the service. Copyrights are more on the creative side. So anything that you create that is unique. So we're talking about photography, website design, logo design. So logos can be trademarked and copyrighted.
Okay.
Trademark is when it's used in connection with your business. Copyright, it can be used for anything. You can create a logo and not use it for any commercial purpose at all and copyright it as long as it's a unique piece of artwork, logo that you created.
Okay.
Anything that's put into tangible work that you've designed can be copyrighted. So your blog posts, your webinars, this blog should be copyrighted. You have a copyright after it, letting the world know that you can't use this and reproduce this for your own good.
Okay.
It's mine.
Right.
It belongs to you.
It's my intellectual property.
Exactly.
That's okay. And so then what happens if I find, that someone has infringed on my stuff? Like, let's assume right now, worst case scenario happens to me, which I don't have my stuff, which will change.
We're going to get there.
We're going to get there. But like, let's say for some, the majority of business owners don't have it trademarked or copywritten. What happens? What are the measures that I could take if someone did start to infringe on my stuff?
So once you're copyrighted and you have that Circle R and you're registered with the USPTO and you've got your registration, you then have the presumption that you own it and that you have the right of continued use of it. There's statutory regulations that come with that and statutory rights. So that way you have the right for attorney's fees, takedowns, things like that. If you're not registered and you find someone that is infringing on you, you can ask them, you can sue them, but it's not a statutory presumption that you own it.
Right, so they can challenge it, basically.
Right, and you have to prove your damages, prove exactly the dollar amount that you lost because of their infringement. If you have a federal registration, statutory damages mean that there are like a set dollar amounts per infringement that you don't have to prove that you actually had damages in that amount.
Okay. That does make sense. And so then, all right, so my hoodie shop, right? I decided to open a hoodie shop, and I've thought of my name, I've thought of my logo. Now is when I come to you?
Either way. When you come to us as you're designing your logo, and you come to us when you're designing your name, and you have a few options. We can run what they call a knockout search, which is just, it's not full comprehensive, but it is going to give you the idea. Is there something similar out there? Mm-hmm. You've chosen a name now. Now you've got a name. You're like, okay, I love this name. This is what I want to go with. Then you run your comprehensive search. That's when we go through and do the deep dive, make sure that there is no competitors out there. And we're good. Nobody's perfect.
Sure.
Once you file your application, it then gets examined by a USPTO examining attorney. And that attorney is going to do another deep dive and go through that process. And there's ways that, they'll come back, they'll let us know. You go through what they call an office action and go through that process before registering your brand.
Okay.
There's something I can add to that. Another reason to do this comprehensive search is not only to make sure that that the name is available to you and you're not wasting your money marketing your business, but you also want to make sure you're not inviting a lawsuit against yourself. Mm-hmm. So by filing a federal application, that puts it out there to the world that you are using it and you're trying to get this protection. And it gets published in the Trademark Gazette for a 30-day period and the purpose of that is to allow everyone else in the world to say, wait a minute, nope, that's mine. Right. So you have to make sure before you put yourself out there to inviting that risk in that you don't have a risk of yourself being sued.
That's great. That's great to know because, obviously I sell commercial insurance, and from an insurance perspective, there's not really a lot of coverage for lawsuits that come in this space of infringement on someone else's, logo, name, or anything like that. Like I do have a client that was, it was prior to them being my client, but in their loss history, I saw that they do have a copyright lawsuit against them for using images that were not approved. Yeah. They used it without their approval. And, these are mistakes that business owners they first of all, they don't think they'll ever get caught, right? Yes. Like, what are the chances that someone's actually going to find out that, my name is similar?
It does happen.
It does happen.
It does. It happens. And it's so much easier to be proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
If you did the work in the front and you were proactive about it and made sure you owned it and you protected it, then you don't have to be reactive. It's not just the cost of rebranding, come up with another name and marketing. Right. It's lawsuit cost.
Right.
Attorneys cost. It's expensive to go through that full rebranding process once you've infringed.
It is expensive from just the art part of it and the rebrand part, but just even the loyalty factor of your customers having loyalty to your name, to your identity as a brand, that does take a toll. That cost is probably, you can't even factor it.
Your reputation cost is huge.
Yes.
And you don't want to be having someone else damage your reputation.
Right.
So it's not just getting your brand and protecting your brand and getting your trademark, it's also policing it and making sure someone else is out there not damaging your reputation and your brand identity.
So is that also a service that you guys do offer where, how often is it policed?
It is policed.
Okay.
You've got to police it, and then there's watch services to police it to make sure that other people aren't applying for names that are similar. We think it during that publication period. We get we'll know. We watch our brands of our clients and do brand watch to know, hey, wait a moment, we have to look at this, we have to talk about this, and do we feel this is infringing on your brand?
Okay. That's very interesting because, look, as a business owner, and you ladies know you're a business owner, right? How many hats do you wear? You do marketing, you do prospecting, you do, you pay bills, you develop your people, you're a boss. There's so many hats to wear that I've never even realized or thought of the fact that I wouldn't even know where to start to police the bunker insurance and risk management. Like, I wouldn't even know where to look.
It's more than just Google.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's the only place I would be looking.
And it's not like you even have time to Google your name every day.
No.
We would have this watch service basically working around the clock, and we get reports at least weekly, really immediately if an application was filed that infringed on your name. So we would always be on top of it, and then we would alert you.
So now that you say that, so I'm the bunker insurance and risk management in the state of Florida. If someone was to open the bunker insurance and risk management in Texas, is that allowed?
First of all, in order to get federal registration, you have to be working between the states, more than just the state that you are. You can get a state registration we're in the state of Florida, for the state of Florida. You register with your Department of State, you file a trademark application with the Department of State that you're in, and you get your local trademark application. But if you are working or you have a client that's in another state, or a client calls you from another state, may even be enough that you advertise in another state for a business that's here. You register for national insurance. So yeah, if someone's in Texas and we're in Florida and you've got your national protection, then yeah, you're going to stop it. It's the same name,
okay,
and the same type of commerce,
okay,
doing the same business.
So that's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a food truck could be named the Bunker Insurance and Risk Management, and then it's not that. Well, I understand. I mean, they're not.
But are they? So
yeah.
You got to look at whether or not in the world of possibilities, are you ever going to own a food truck?
Right.
Are you ever going to advertise on a food truck? You got to go through that whole process. But if your name is registered for insurance and that's the service you provide, you may want to ask them nicely to
right. Well, you guys would ask them nicely. No, but I mean, this is fascinating. This is so much more complicated than I think, whenever someone goes to start a business. Literally, we chose the bunker's name like the G told us in 3 days. We loved it. We had prior insurance agencies that were named. A lot of insurance agencies are like attorneys, which is why I love your guys' name too, because it's not Smith and Smith. Law firm, right? A lot. We have similar, businesses that open like that, where it's just like last name insurance agency. A lot of law firms are last name.
Brand identity, though. When you create a brand, when you create a name around that brand, and you go forward and create a whole brand around that identity, you then have a brand. It's not just Ciara's insurance agency.
Exactly. Well, that's what we learned. We had Allstate. We started with Allstate, and we were Gravier Insurance Group, but we did that intentionally. We didn't know anything about insurance. We had just opened, and we were hiding behind the Allstate logo. So that was kind of like, okay, good. We don't really have to market ourselves. We're Allstate.
That's a brand.
Right. That we hid behind, which we did
identified with.
Yes. Oh, I like that. And then, we opened a second agency, and that one, had a terrible name. It's humiliating how bad it was looking retroactively. But, we decided to go with a name that also was larger than what we were, right? We were in insurance. 60-second wrap up. There's like the captive, which is like the Allstate, State Farms that only sell that. We decided to go independent, but we were also new on the independent side. We didn't want to give that up. So we decided it's bad. So don't.
She's going to go for it.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. It's a Countrywide Insurance Group.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because we thought, well, people will think we're a part of Countrywide Mortgage. Right?
Oh, so you were looking at someone else's brand.
Oh my God, I did the infringing.
I
could have. Well, thank God they didn't last anyway. So they tanked so that it didn't last very long. And we were getting phone calls about people's mortgages. And we were like, no, we're not. And so we pivoted and we changed the name. But
you're showing you're showing that there was actual confusion.
Oh my God.
It did exist.
Oh my gosh, I'm confessing to this on air. Thank God we sold that company.
This is hypothetical.
So let's move on. So my point is that when we opened the bunker, we knew we wanted something that was separate from us, like you said, because if I don't build it around myself, I can sell it easier and for more. Right. So we knew it would be able to we can scale it. Franchise it. So we did want to create that detachment, but we still just went to Google and went to Sunbiz, and we saw it wasn't taken, and we took it. Yeah. I mean, we think it wasn't taken. I mean, we're gonna have to do that search. Yeah, but I couldn't imagine now if it is taken, me having to change everything. Like the bunker is my baby, and I was sitting across a customer 2 weeks ago, where she told me, I couldn't remember your name. I had worked with her about 2 years prior. She goes, I could not remember your first name. And the first thing, when it finally clicked, I remembered the bunker. Yep. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, we had already had our coffee. And I was like, I got to do something about this to protect that. Because they don't even remember my name.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what an identity is.
That's what that is. That's what I'm protecting.
Yeah, you've just described the identity.
Right.
That's what people need to protect. That's their identity. That's their reputation. That's who they're put out to their public face. That's what needs to be protected.
So when someone sells a business that has these things in place, I'm assuming the business is valued higher, right? Because they know that those protections exist. So I could even probably charge a larger multiple at that point because it's protected forever, right? So when I sell a business that has these copyrights and trademarks and all these things done, does that transfer with it, or does the
protected forever in a moment?
Okay,
that's a misnomer.
Okay.
A lot of people have, but yes, if you're licensing, if you're franchising, you could sell intellectual property. That's a business asset. It's actually one of the business's most important asset. Their identity, their brand. And that is a big, important business asset. And if you're going to franchise, it's necessary. If you're going to sell licenses, it's necessary. You want to open up the Bunker Risk Management Insurance in Tallahassee, that's a licensed office.
Okay.
That's an important part of your IP portfolio.
A lot of the times the buyers will require the IP protections be in place. They don't want to buy a business that has liabilities attached to it where there could have been infringement.
Right.
So it's not only a plus, sometimes it's required.
But I feel like I would be more attractive in a sale if I already had that. All right.
Absolutely.
And done the work to make sure that you have your IP asset and your business owns their IP asset. That is important.
So give me the forever. Okay. Why is it not forever?
Forever. So like policing your brand to make sure that people aren't stealing your brand, using your identity, and decreasing the brand awareness. You also have to maintain it. You have to maintain it with the USPTO.
Okay.
So the first registration is during your 5th to 6th year. Before the end of your 6th year, you have to go ahead and renew and do a maintenance on your application with the USPTO. Show that you're still using it. It's in continued use. Go through that process again. And then I think it's again between your 9th and before the end of your 10th year. We always say 10th year because it sounds so confusing. Between your 9th and 10th year. So then every 10 years after that.
So then if it was to expire, someone can come in and pick it up.
Yeah, if it's to cancel.
Wow. This is fascinating.
We help you do that.
Right.
We send you reminders.
That's why
we go through the process with you. We know how to file the affidavits and the statements and provide what is being in use and show proof of it continued in use.
Let's talk about that because our industries are both facing similar things, right? There's the online beast where everyone thinks they can buy insurance online and they know what they're doing and they're protected. All of a sudden, everyone's an insurance agent, right? When they're sitting in front of a computer clicking coverages. It's the same thing, right? Online, there has to be, I'm sure, and this is not an advertisement. We're anti going online for most things. But, that's why you are valuable to a business owner like myself, right? The value in the advice, the guidance, the watching of the brand, all of those things. Talk to me a little bit about like some of the value adds that SecureMark Legal would give my clients and myself.
Go online and buy your hoodies. Don't buy your protection.
Yeah. You could always exchange for a different size.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No,
when
it doesn't.
To insurance and legal protection.
No, it's not one size fits all. And an extra large in one brand is not an extra large in another, right? So it's the same thing. There's nuances, there's things in the middle that only you two would know that I would not know filling out a $99 application.
Right.
So,
and keep in mind with those $99 services, you're not talking to an attorney.
No.
Most likely. I mean, really, it seems
there's no
impossible
way.
for $99.
No.
You're probably dealing with a paralegal at best, but probably most likely someone with very little to no legal background. If they run any search at all, they're probably doing like a Google search. They're almost
might as well do that
certainly
myself.
Not doing
right.
a comprehensive search.
No.
It costs us more than that to run the search
Right.
for our costs. So
Right.
we know that they're not doing that.
Right.
So, again, you're almost just as well off doing it yourself.
Right.
So, and then when they're filling out the application, they're just filling in the blanks. They're not going through a legal analysis of what classes you should be filing in. That's the category of your business. It's not always cut and dry, black and white. Sometimes you have to file in multiple classes. They're just probably going to pick the one that just looks the best on the list. Melissa, I think, mentioned earlier about an office action. Office actions are when the USPTO, the trademark office, reviews your application. They have an attorney on their side that does a search. If they have any issues, find any issues at all with your application, they find another company that's already using a similar name, there are a multitude of different objections they can have. They'll issue this office action, which is a legal pleading. Essentially, it's a memorandum of law. Sometimes, it's complicated. Those $99 services are going to get that and be like, here you go, we're done. Right. We're out.
And you only have 3 months to respond now. It used to have longer, but you now only have 3 months to respond. So you've got a short period of which to time to go ahead and put together a response. Oftentimes it includes another memorandum of law going through that process. We communicate with the examining attorney directly. We'll go through that, office action. And we've represented people that have done a DIY. I'm all for DIYing things and, trying to make coffee table.
When it comes to crafts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not so much when it comes to getting legal advice. Right. And, we have gone through and helped people fix their application, hired another attorney or did a $99 trademark application online and thought that it was going to be enough and go through those office actions for them.
And then it just ends up being more expensive, right? Because I think, look, when someone's starting out in business, the cash flow is low.
Yep.
So you try to be resourceful, you try to be scrappy to get things done. But some things require investment, and something like this, where you're protecting your identity, your name, your brand, your image, all of that stuff is something that should not be done that way.
And in reality, it's a whole lot cheaper to do it
right
in the first place than it is to have to fix it.
Right.
Or worse, have to rebrand, because that is so expensive.
Right. The rebranding part. And the thing is that unless you've done it or someone that's done it, you don't even know the cost associated to actually do a rebrand properly and maintain your customer loyalty. And it's a rebrand gone wrong could end the business.
And hopefully, you're not infringing, but if you are infringing, hopefully that person is understanding and will work with you when as you go through that rebrand. But we've had clients come to us that were not, and they didn't understand what was going on. They didn't get their trademark. They didn't go through that process. And it's a very costly process to go through. Just think about someone that sells inventory, to destroy your inventory, to, your marketing, your social, your handles, your advertising, the legal fees, because they want damage. You've ruined their brand in their opinion. They want damages. They want you to pay their attorney's fees to go through that process because they now had to hire an attorney to stop you. It's a very expensive process.
I didn't even think about the product side of it. Yeah, you would have to get rid of your inventory, all of that stuff.
Your brochures, your everything.
Wow.
If you're a service company, all of that. And then your own reputation.
Right. So talk to me about, there's copyrights, trademarks, patents. What so I know you spoke about the copyright, the trademark, that proportion, right? The trademark is, let me see if I remember, the copyright is IP stuff, right? Your blogs, this is what we would copyright.
Creative works,
right? The trademarks are my name, logos, those things.
Brand identity.
So
copyrights are creative works.
Got it.
Trademarks are in the commercial realm, your brand identity.
Perfect. Now, where does patent fall into this?
So patents are a product, something that you have created. It's more scientific.
A patent is, again, like Holly said, something that you've created, something that you've manufactured, something, not necessarily something that needs to be sold. Okay, it doesn't have to do with a commercial purpose. It doesn't have to do with a creative work purpose. It's the product design that is being made.
Got it.
It's typically in computer realm, sciences, things along those. And that's a very specialized field. And you want a patent attorney that will help you in your specific area that you're working in. The word specific is always so difficult. Specific area that you're working in. And we work with different patent attorneys, and we can help you find someone if it's necessary. That product you're going to before you put it on the market, you want to patent it. Not only putting it on the market, the brand identity and the rest of that, but also getting it patented before it goes out on the market. And there's different patent attorneys for different areas. They don't all do the same area.
Right. They specialize in certain industries or niches, let's say.
That was the word I was looking for.
Okay. No, that's good to know. So patent is it's still a creative idea, right? Or process that
still an intellectual property.
It still is intellectual property, but it's basically like the engineering side or the architectural side of a product.
Correct.
Like the idea. You're patenting an idea.
Patenting the process.
Got it.
It's not just the idea. Anything with IP has to be put down in tangible form.
Okay.
let's just not talk about NFTs. But
right.
that's still a tangible form of somewhere, somehow.
Right. Listen, I only know the little bit I know about patent, which is nothing. It's just from Shark Tank. So I've heard every time they come with an idea, they always ask that. And that makes sense. That the idea is patent.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
Again, when they ask that, they want to know if anybody else has already had this idea, already had this.
And they always ask, right? And they always ask the question of, what are your competitors? How easy is it to duplicate it? I've noticed that too, where they ask, like, you know, the one that I recently saw was the straw, like the straw that folds, and it came in like in a little pouch. They were saving all the turtles, and they were just like, yeah, but I mean, there's already 1 million of these straws.
Right.
Like, why would somebody pay $11 for yours to carry it around in their purse? Like, that's just not.
Yeah.
But even if that idea wasn't patentable and they created a whole brand around it and they created a whole brand awareness around it, that still may be worth an $11 straw because it has now become a whole brand identity. So I was thinking about this because I knew you guys were coming today, and my husband for the first time bought liquid death water. It's like a can. It looks like a beer can, right? And it's I don't know how much he paid for it. I got to stop watching TikTok, or I got to start watching TikTok. Yeah. I'm not sure which way. You got to start. I've seen all the kids drink it and stuff, and it's like, it's in a can. It looks like it's a beer, but it's a little bit bigger. And I'm pretty sure it costs more than a 24 pack of like Publix water, right? Okay. And I thought to myself, man, these people made a business on a can of water. Like, how many options are there for water? What is so special about this? Nothing. Water? I drank one, and it's nothing. It's mountain water. It's just water in a can. And I actually saw it on Instagram where it's like they've sold like $1.3 billion of water because it's in a can. And that's exactly the brand identity. There you go. Mm-hmm. It's like they have done such a great job. I mean, I've never seen a commercial for them, so it must be a social media identity. They've sent it to influencers, all that stuff. And I thought to myself, man, water, another line of water. And these people are so successful. Wow. You know, social influencers have a big impact in what we do and what we look at. And they are a brand. They themselves are a brand that are trademarked. And a lot of social influencers trademark their name. A lot of actors and actresses trademark their name because that is a brand identifier. They are the brand. They're selling themselves. Huh. So that makes sense then in a social media influencer that has 5 million followers would then. They're getting paid to do those things. Right. They're getting paid to sell you that can of water that you just paid, way more money than you should have. I didn't ask. I didn't ask, but I know that White Claw did a really good job with that too. Yeah. The hard sell. I mean, how many of those have come out? How many country songs have White Claw in them? Exactly. And I know that it picked up. I don't think I've ever seen a commercial for them too. I know that on YouTube there was some really good commercials, and like it created a buzz with the kids and stuff. And I was like, my gosh, it's just. So that's interesting though, because even though it does exist, if you can spin it in a different fashion, you can trademark it. Correct. If it's used as a brand identifier, it's used to sell a product. You are selling a product. You are what is the source of that sale of product. Interesting. Very interesting. So social it's very complex. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of it. This is why you need to hire SecureMark Legal and don't go online. This is not something that an average business owner that has a good idea or knows how to sell insurance knows how to do. That's very complex. Most business owners don't know this. And I didn't know this. I'm an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur for years before I became a lawyer. I did business litigation. And I didn't know a lot of this until we started doing this, until we started seeing what other people involved in regards to, they get the cease and desist letters, they get the takedown letters, and started going through that process and seeing how much it is out there and what you can do if you're not protected. Wow. So can you guys give us a horror story of a case that you know of, whether it's yours or not? That's just a good example of how a business mistakenly, without knowing, can infringe on someone else's. There was a recent one we came across for a client that was a food truck, and she's just local. She's a small little food truck, and she thought, why is this important? She came up with a name, went to the state, went to the social media, got her handles. Exactly what I did. Yep. And she got a really expensive infringement letter because there is a food truck that is in multiple states that has their trademark application, and they're coming into Florida, and they see her name, and they're like, how did they find her? Well, in their case, before they even came to Florida, someone left a bad review on their Google, and it was about her food truck, unfortunately. Wow. And she said the review was frivolous, but still, that's how they found her. And it was like, wait a minute, and they're wanting a lot of money. You know, they're saying that this name, you know, not only the statutory damages, they can prove damages, their Google reviews went down, that it was a problem for them. And you know, she was like, but I'm just me. I sell cookies out of a food truck.
Right.
You know?
Like,
why
I don't
are they
even make
coming
that
after
much
me?
money.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So she doesn't see herself as a threat, but it's
do.
Right. Well, especially like you said, the bad press that can come with it from another entity, right? Like if it's not your business and you're doing a great job as the one that's been infringed on is doing a wonderful job with their online presence, all those things, bad reviews. I mean, the basic consumer doesn't know that they're not the same people.
Correct. Right. And in her case, the word "the" was the one that was the qualifier that made her be able to get the social and be able to get the state and be able, and you know, those kinds of things where she had put "the" in front of her name, she could now get everything.
But that means nothing when we're talking about infringement and federal rights. Adding a "the" means really nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
Like, social didn't tell her that someone else had that name. The state didn't tell her someone else didn't have that name. She registered a domain to be able to, people could follow her and see where she was at. Didn't, you know, she didn't own the brand.
And I mean, did she even ever know that she had to do it? That's the problem. I think a lot of business owners, including myself, right? Until I had met you, I'd never, which shame on me, right? I knew that these things existed, but I didn't realize it was that severe as far as, I thought it was local to my state, which is why I checked on Sunbiz,
right?
Which is not the case. It is a national infringement. Like someone in California can come after me.
Correct.
Right.
They've got their registration.
That's the problem that the business owners don't understand. It's not just local in your community.
Right.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a very valid example as far as like, you know, I would assume that the majority of the time this is done innocently. Like nobody's purposely going after someone else. Like why would they spend all their money and their time and their efforts to build something when they know, when it's so wrong, which is why what you guys do is so important too, because you guys are really protecting livelihoods and potentials of millions of dollars if this business does grow up front.
Right. It's like you said, like insurance. It's being proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
Knowing that you've got your protection, knowing that you're safe, knowing you're policing your brand, you're doing your monitoring, you're taking care of what you need to and making sure you own it instead of having to be reactive when you unfortunately get that infringement letter. Or even worse, someone else is infringing on your brand and you don't have the steps to take them down and you haven't done the protection and now you've got to go through the cost to take them down because you're not entitled to statutory rights.
Right. So that's probably even worse. If you're the one that's being infringed on because you were there first but you never secured it, then you don't have any foundation to do anything.
Well, you can stop them. You can send them cease and desist letters. You just have to now go prove damages.
That's right.
It's going to be more expensive to go after them opposed to it being like, okay, here's a letter, here's the statutes, here's what you need to do to stop this brand.
Right. Okay, so I'm an established business. What do I do to find out what is the process? Where do I start? If I'm 5 years into business, I've never looked into this, give me some actionable steps besides, obviously calling you guys, but like, what does that process look like? Give me like 1 or 2 steps of what can a business owner expect if they're ready to do this, if they hadn't done it before.
So I think the first thing to determine is whether you have the rights to your name.
Okay.
Is it unique? Does anyone else have it? So, they could start with a Google search, knocking Google all over the place, but it's a starting point. They may find one right off the bat and say, oh my gosh, this is bad.
Yeah.
Or they might find nothing. And then the second step I would say would be, to come to us to do a comprehensive search to really, really know. And then if we can clear the name, that's great. Fabulous. We'd go to the application and go from there and actually secure those rights.
Okay. And so then what about the opposite side of if someone has infringed on my brand, my name, all that stuff, the same process, I obviously run to you guys. I have you guys fix it, cease to say, all all those things, right?
Right. We start with like a cease and desist letter. If it is on social media, say you're selling something and someone's selling something that is similar to yours, or they're using the same brand, we may start with a takedown through social media, a cease and desist letter to the company, and a takedown together and combined, and go through that process.
So there are recourses, there's steps that can happen before you lose all hope, and you know, before you, I mean, I can only imagine it has to be terrifying, you know, to realize that that's happening to you after all the money and the years and the sweat of building a business. So I think that this is very important for all business owners, whether you're thinking of starting a business, whether you have a business and you've never done it, the time is now to check it, to make sure that you're not infringing and that you haven't been infringed on.
Yeah, it's never too early, but it can be too late.
Right. That's good. That actually is powerful.
If you haven't
right.
done it, now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to do it. Where can everyone reach you if they're ready to start this process?
You can find us on social. We are at SecureMarkLegal.com. Can I give her a phone number?
Absolutely.
Right.
Give your email, give your social, whatever you want.
Put me on the spot. Okay.
Your email, and obviously you could always contact me. I know these ladies very well. We network together, so I could always refer you to them. But
I guess as we do presentations for, other businesses or, groups or chambers and things like that, I always like, oh, wait, it's not sales, it's education.
Yeah.
Go back into the sales pitch of it.
No. We want our, and we'll put it in the show notes too, all of your contact information. So whoever watches it and, has some questions, they can always reach out to you guys.
So we're on the web, SecureMarkLegal.com. Our number is 239-323-0702. I'm Melissa at SecureMark Legal. Holly at SecureMark Legal. Be found on email. And then our social is SecureMark Legal.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming and spending time with me. I love that we've met. I love knowing powerful business women that are helping other businesses, get off on the right start, protect themselves. I think that what I'm also trying to do with this podcast, I'm also trying to really up the number of women, because I love to work with other powerful business women that have a passion for helping the community. And I'm very happy and fortunate that I have you guys on my team. And thank you so much for coming by. Any last words?
We look forward to coming back in a year when you can announce, because it is a year-long process, that you have your trademark application.
Oh my gosh, it's a year-long process.
It's a year-long process.
Wow.
Yeah, it does take a year, but your trademark protection starts when your application is filed.
That's why you can't do it online. Another reason. Imagine me sitting behind that computer trying to figure it for a year. Trying to I wouldn't even know. That's crazy.
So in a year, we'll be back on your podcast.
Yes. And we'll take a picture, right? I get a frame.
Yes.
I get a thing.
Yes,
And,
thing.
that's great. Yes, we will. No, this is something that I definitely have to do. And, just like my family's owned 2 other businesses, we never did it. We got lucky, but we're not always going to be lucky. Right. And if you're watching this, don't try to infringe me. Don't try to do it. But no, I really appreciate your time and for being here with me. And I know one last question that's good for me. Because I sit in front of so many business owners, what are the questions that I should ask them about this, about their logos? Is it copyright?
Do they have their protection? Do they have their IP protection? Is that name trademarked? Have you gone through and talked to an IP attorney and trademarked and make sure you're protecting your brand? Okay. I went all the way through without one of those.
Almost at the end, right at the end. No, that's good to know though, because it's good for people that deal with businesses to know the questions to ask, because that's the goal of one of the goals of this podcast is also for me to be able to be a resource to my clients and to my community, because if someone does have these issues, I now know who to call and I know how to find out if they have the issues by asking the right questions. Mm-hmm. So that's good. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we'll have you guys back on when we have that big announcement. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back.